Hey guys, Wildstyle here from Graffiti Bombing. I just wanted to record a quick update to show you guys what I've been working on recently. So some of you might know that we are currently in beta testing. We're in closed beta. And at the moment, the beta group has been testing the player home and the new functionality for the interaction system and everything else that I've been working on. Some of the feedback from the closed beta on the paint system has kind of encouraged me to start work on the V2 paint system early. So the last month or so, I've spent some time rewriting the paint line code. That's basically the algorithm that when you spray the line creates the line. There's a very complex algorithm behind the scenes that handles all of that process. Now the V1 system had a lot of issues. There was a lot of issues with the line. The line was not always perfect. The caps were not visible enough. And more importantly, the code was not easily supportable and extendable. So what does that mean? It means that adding new features to that V1 code was difficult, because the way that the code was written and the way that the line algorithm was structured, extending it and adding new features was really not easily possible. So I've spent the last month or so learning how to write shaders, complex shaders, which was pretty challenging, and then rewriting the V2 paint, the V1 line algorithm into the first version of the V2. And so just to show you a few things, so now when I spray a dot, you'll see that there's a lot more definition to that dot. You can see around the edges, you can see the definition of the dot a lot more. Okay, and then when I spray, you see the mist around the line. As the line goes on, it kind of looks more realistic. Let me show you with white. You see, around the line, you've kind of got these paint speckles which come around the line when you're spraying, you see? You see like these speckles of paint. So when you spray, it kind of adds a bit more realism, and you can see that definition now. And it's much, if you just spray a dot now, you can see more of the cap's character. And if I change to some other cap types, you'll see that also. So when you spray a dot, you can see the cap's character a lot more. You see that? And so every cap now actually does start to feel a bit different, which is quite nice. Every cap now has its own character, and we can really start to see different dynamics between different cap types, which is obviously, for a graffiti simulator, that's important. Not every cap should be behaving the same. Different cap types should produce a different line. There should be a different kind of cookie for the cap that's visible, which shows you the cap's character. At the moment, when drawing the line, I'm just basically doing a blend with the cap. So what you don't see is then, what you don't see actually behind the scenes, when you spray a line, if you're spraying slowly, I'm actually drawing dots. But then as you speed up, that line transitions into a different algorithm which handles a seamless line transition. Hopefully you can see that. So the system is pretty robust and powerful in that, it supports lots of different use cases which were not possible before. So hopefully you can see that looks better, a lot better in my view. So that's the new paint system. So there's the new line algorithm. There's these new mist droplets which come around the line, which are configurable. And then there's also the paint splatters is still there, but the paint splatters is much more randomized now. So when you're spraying, occasionally you will get paint splatters around the line if it's turned on. But it only happens occasionally. Now, I might make it so you can increase the frequency of that in the future, but you might see around the line sometimes you'll see some specks or some bits of splatters of paint that kind of come out to the side, and that's kind of more randomized now than before. So let's see if we can show you over here on the concrete. So the only color that behaves a little bit differently from other colors is black. Now that's because of we're in the digital realm, right? So in the digital, obviously RGB colors, right? RGB colors, black behaves differently because black is basically 0, 0, 0. You know, black is the absence of all color in digital, if that makes sense. So black behaves differently from other colors. So actually behind in the code, I have to do this weird kind of dynamic balancing with black and darker colors and other colors so that when you spray, things kind of look more consistently the same. And that's basically a digital issue, but I've tried to take care of that to some extent already. And I think I've succeeded, but it's not perfect. So out of all the colors, black still needs a bit more work to get it seamless and working perfectly, but it's still pretty good. It still looks good. It looks good in most cases, apart from in certain cases on certain materials, it might look a little bit, you might see a few artifacts sometimes. All right, tagging on, mate, tagging on. It's quite fun, actually. So this is the new paint system. Well, this is the new line drawing algorithm. It's important to note this is just part of the new paint system. So this is obviously the most important part is the line drawing algorithm. And then, you know, there's still some improvements to be made to this. And, you know, I'll continue working on it. But for now, I'm deprioritizing, you know, any more work on this. I think it's good enough for now. And, you know, I'm going to continue working on the other features so we can get back onto Steam as soon as possible. He says as soon as possible. Haha, it's a joke, right? Because I know it's taking so long. But, you know, the intent is still to get back onto Steam as soon as possible. And then, you know, there's other features which are more important now to get us back on Steam. So a couple of other things to show you. The new paint system updates also has a quality setting. So if you've got a powerful rig, you can change the quality setting. You might notice there's 3 different settings. One for the home area, which is where we are here now. And then there's going to be another canvas quality setting for open world. Obviously, open world is more performance intensive anyway, and so most people will want to leave that in standard for open world. But if you've got a beast of a system, or if you're doing some streaming and you want to show the best quality or whatever, you know, if your rig can handle it, you could increase that to high quality. So basically changing the quality of the paint canvas reloads any paint canvases at a higher resolution. So by default in here, these paint canvases are 2048 resolution, but then if I increase that to high quality and I apply it, it will first save any work that I've done on the standard quality, and then it will unload it and it will reload these paint canvases at high quality. It might take a few seconds for that save to complete. There we go. There it goes. So now these paint canvases have now reloaded at high quality, and when you spray now, you should notice that the paint quality should be improved. But really, you'll notice it like up close with like the particles. You see now there's more definition to the particles. Maybe over here I can show you better. Yeah. See it, right? You can look at the definition around that now. You can see a lot more definition. And then if I... there we go, paint speck, see it? Paint splatter, sorry. Yeah, there we go, paint splatters. See, that's the random paint splatters that I was telling you about. At the moment, this is just, again, this is just the first implementation. This is not final. But now we're in high resolution. You can see that there's a lot more definition. Look at the definition now. It's even better, man. There's a lot more definition, which is quite nice. And so when you're spraying now, you know, you've got this nice definition. The drip system still works. There we go. All right. It's quite fun with the new system, man. It is definitely quite fun. Yeah. Now, some of these settings can be turned on and off in here, in the paint settings. Notice you can turn off, you know, the drips can be turned on and off. The mist droplets, which is like the mist around the line, the fine particles of mist around the line, that can be turned off, as can the paint splatters. So yep, the paint system settings, as you can see, is starting to get pretty long, which is cool, huh? We're getting more settings, and as I continue to build out the system and add more features, obviously there's going to be more settings exposed that you guys can, you know, configure and control the experience, and set things up as you like it, right? Which has always been the intent, to make things configurable, and you know, give you guys the power to set things up the way you like it. And so another thing to show you guys is the undo system, and so that's also been rewritten. So when you spray on a canvas now, the undo system is enabled by default, and it's configurable. You can have up to I think it's five undo steps by default, and then you can change it up to 10, I think, if you want to go up to 10. So there you go. That's the new undo system. That's pretty nice. But then another thing to show you guys is the spray can collision. So if you're in the home area, or if you're in creative mode, it's going to be possible to disable the spray can collision. So if I turn that off and apply that, oops, I don't want that. So I've now disabled the spray can collision. So now if I pick up the spray can and if I go to the canvas, you can see that this hand still has collision enabled because it's not grabbing the spray can, whereas this hand with the spray can collision is disabled, as is the hand collision. You can still swap hands, you can still stash it in the backpack and do other stuff with it, but when you're spraying on the paint canvas now, with that disabled, just means that it's easier to get really close when you want to, you know, get into those close lines. Obviously, if you go through, you'll see that it will stop spraying because I've gone through, right? Obviously, you have to be in a valid position to draw a line, but you can get much closer without worrying about, look, you can get much closer without worrying about that collision, which if you're doing flares or delicate work or tagging or whatever, that can be quite nice too. All right. Yeah, you can see on this board, on this wooden board, you can see sometimes you can see some artifacts from the new system. It's not perfect. I've already got a plan for improving this blending. This blending issue only happens sometimes. It doesn't happen always. You can see that depending on how you use the technique of the spray, you can get a spray that has no artifacts at all. So there's a certain amount of skill to using the system as well, right? If you know how to use the system effectively, you can spray without artifacts. See, there's no artifacts, but it's just really as you press that trigger and as you release that trigger, depending on how you use that action, can produce a slightly different result. And I think that's what we want with the paint system in the future, that we want there to be some skill with the system too, right? It's not just a magic system that whoever picks up the can, everything's perfect, right? We want there to be some skill. So when you're drawing a line, some can control and some pressure control that gives you a different result, right? And we're starting to see that now. We've got different cap dynamics starting to come in now. The line can be different slightly, like I say, depending on how you use your technique can produce, a better or a worse line. So there is a certain amount of skill coming into the system now, which I think is good. And we'll continue to build on, and improve that in the future. And one other quick thing to show you, some of you may have remembered that when you sprayed to the edge of the canvas before, when you went outside, the can would stop. So you would spray off the canvas and it would stop as soon as you left the canvas. It doesn't do that anymore. So now if I spray off the canvas, I can keep spraying, and then if I come back into the canvas, yeah, it carries on. You'll also notice, splatter, you'll also notice that there was some bug on the side here that was causing some issues with the line. That's all been fixed as well. So you can spray off the line off the edge and you can come back in. And that works the same on any canvas now. So it's a bit more realistic, and it's a bit easier to use that as well, which is quite nice. So that's just a quick update I wanted to share with you guys to show you this new line algorithm that I've been working on. It's not perfect, it's not final, but it's a good starting point. It's a solid base in terms of, functionality, and it's a solid base in terms of code structure that we can build on for the future. We can add more features, we can extend it, we can make it more realistic in the future, and this gives us that base. So it's pretty exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing you guys start to use the system soon, and I'm excited to see what you guys can produce with it. All right, and that's it. Thanks, guys. See ya.